Welcome, everybody, to another episode. And today, as always, we have a very special guest, a good friend of mine, and a partner that we've had such a great story from the time that we met till now. And I'm honored that she's taken a few minutes to spend with us and just give us some insights. So we are going to kick this thing off, guys. Stay tuned because this is going to be a really good one. Let's get started. We are here, the one and only Danna Neeson. How are you, Danna? Good to see you. Good to see you as well. How are things going? How have you been? I appreciate so much that you've taken a few minutes to spend with us and with me. Obviously, you and I talk quite a bit because we do a lot of work together, but I know that you're super busy. So I just want to say thank you for spending a couple minutes with us today and sharing some stuff. How are things going?
Man, things are a whirlwind, right? A freaking whirlwind. That in beginning of January was when I had to make the decision of whether I wanted to stay in this business and start an agency or if I was going to, exit and do something completely different. So I chose the agency route and it's been full steam ahead since February.
A whirlwind is a great way to kind of summarize it, right? And that's something that I want to, obviously we'll talk about today, right? Like building and the process of it, because we always see out there how we always see like the spotlight, the great aspects, right? The successes, the wins, but it's rare to see people in general really talk about like the hard parts of just running a business, being an agent. And I think that's something that you really highlight really well, which is why I think you have such a good connection with your audience and why people kind of, gravitate to you and to your content is because you are out there, not just putting like the wins and the great parts. You do a lot of exposing like the difficult part of this, the mental side of these things. And so that's something that I want to get into today a little bit. Obviously you've been working with us and with ScaleMySocial on the lead generation side since we started. And there's been a lot of great things that have happened. We're building, your ad account is building, your agency continues to build, but there's obviously been challenges and struggles and things that we've had to overcome,
Definitely.
Us as a company for you, us together to try to figure out the best way to have agents benefit from what we're doing and the structure that you've put out to them. So let's talk a little bit about like starting, right? So things got started. Mm-hmm. You had the option of like, okay, what are the leads? What am I going to provide agents, right? Which I know obviously when you first start and if you're out there starting an agency or a team, that's like one of 3 or 4 main components, right? How are my agents going to produce? So walk us through that process as just a little bit. Like, how did you decide what you were going to do and just thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think I had a little bit of an advantage coming from running a free lead call center model. And not just that, of course. I mean, it's no secret that I've been in telesales since 2004. So like, I know what it takes to win in telesales. I can confidently say that. Like there's things that I still need work on, but if one thing is for sure, like I know what it takes to win in telesales. And the first thing is volume. And because of that, like that's why people in a free lead program can be very successful. It's not because they don't really have like the stress of not paying for the leads. I mean, that's a part of it, but really the reality is it's like a slot machine. And you can never run out of leads. Well, at least the way that we ran it, right? Yeah. Like they weren't capped. It was an unlimited supply. And so we were essentially, if you think about it in like a backwards way, we were like buying their production, right? Because like, how many leads does it take to get to X amount of a production for that person's conversion rate? And they would just get fed. So if the secret to success is lead volume, but I'm no longer running a free lead model, but I still need agents to fill their cup, how do I find the balance between volume and cost? right? So that was my number one first priority, is figuring out, how am I going to do that? Because if I have very high expectations for agents to have a volume of leads, 100 leads a week is sort of like the benchmark.
Right.
I think it's unreasonable for me to expect every agent to be able to buy 100 third-party leads that cost $25, right? 2,500, that's 10,000 a month just in leads, and they don't even know if this business is going to work for them.
Yeah.
Right. So I knew that I had to leverage a relationship to help me understand how to help agents self-generate their own leads so that they're getting them at cost and not paying that markup between what it costs to generate a lead and what it costs to buy a lead, because that's how those companies make money. And it's no fault of theirs. It's just how they run their business.
Yeah.
And so because of my experience in developing the relationships I have over the years, I knew you, right? I actually had spent time with you at a Cody Askins event in 2024, last year. And so those relationships have kind of helped me put the pieces of the puzzle together in building an agency when I had to. And for me, it was just obvious, like, I need a partner to help me help my agents generate a high volume of leads at the lowest cost per lead possible if they want a chance to win at a high level. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yeah. I think that's a couple of things you said there that I think about right away. One is you had the experience of working in an environment, a call center environment, right? I think that is such an advantage when you're building a team, right? Because a lot of agents, especially since COVID, right, where they've just been working in their own home, there is no like sales environment really, the same way that a call center, even if it's a virtual call center, right? A lot of them are just working at home and then they go, okay, I want to now build a team. It's so hard, right? It's a real challenge. And so one, you had that advantage. Two, something really important, I think, is leaning on relationships and building relationships, because you can't build a business alone, right? That's never going to be the case. And I think it's hard for a lot of people, right? And for me, it was something that I struggled a lot with, years ago, like doing things on my own and giving things up for other people to do and to help me. But I did get to that point where I did realize that if I don't lean on relationships, if I don't build relationships with others around me, then I'm going to limit myself, and I think that's something you've done really well is, your networking, that you have the audience that you have. You've now been able to, like you said, tap into those relationships, tap into those partnerships, and set up this business that, again, it's not great every day and there's struggles and there's wins, but you're setting something up with a really long-term vision, right? So that as you scale, it's not just you doing everything, you already have. And that's something that I'll say that I've noticed in comparison to, again, other agency builders or people that are out there just starting out. A lot of them will focus on just doing everything themselves right from the beginning and then transition to letting others do and hiring other people. But it's really good to see where you've come. And again, that's your experience and what you've done, where right from the start, I noticed that that's something you set up, right? It was like, I'm going to set up managers. I'm going to set up partnership. I'm going to set up things so that it's not you doing everything. And I think, of course, that comes with its own challenges, but in the big picture, long-term vision, I think that set you up in such a great way as this thing scales for you. So I think that's a huge, huge thing for, again, agents and agency owners that are out there. If you're building, if you're in this process now, don't wait to bring people on. Don't wait to give people the ability to work and do things for you. So, okay. So you figured out volume, obviously number one. And of course, we're one of your partners that help with lead generation. You do have others, right? Because let's be clear, like, your agents are not just using us, they are using other lead sources. And so for you, how important was it to not just have one, right? And I wish that everyone would just come to us, but that's the reality, right? And so how important was it for you to have options for the agents?
Oh, it was incredibly important. And like you and I, we talk about that all the time. And
Yeah.
I actually share with you the wins that people have with other sources. And you're right there celebrating with me, which is, I think, really important thing to point out. So anytime I'm setting something up, as a type A, high functioning, high producer person, I'm always wanting to set things up to where, like, how would I feel if I went into something and I was only said, this is all you can do? Like, I personally would immediately like rebel against it. It would not be good for my headspace. Even if it was the best thing ever, if it breaks, then what?
Agreed.
Right. And so even though I think that having agents, like giving them their ability to have their own ads and getting their own leads through Meta, through ScaleMySocial, it's still not like, I still don't want it to be the only answer. We have options for inbound call leads. We do have discount codes with third-party lead vendors to like get a quick fix supplement of leads. And I'm still actively working on adding more, right? Adding more partnerships. Like, I'm pushing you to drive inbound calls to our agents through your campaign. But I think going back to what you said earlier is it all comes down to the relationship for me. And I'm very intentional about building that. And one of the things that I do that I know you're not a huge fan of, but I do want to share this. Do you know where I'm going?
Yeah, I do. Go ahead. I love it.
Okay.
I love it.
So,
Yeah.
and I've done this with more than just you, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that I do that I think is very against the grain, and I think everybody disagrees with me, including my leaders. It's like, what is it? I personally do not take any affiliate money or commission from relationships that I have.
Right.
I do that intentionally. Not that because I don't think it's the right thing to do, for our relationship or for me. Like, I've heard all the arguments, but
Yeah.
for me, I'm going all in on the relationship. And I want my partners to make all the money in their own business. I'm betting on me to grow EmpowerLife Group to, infinite means. Like, that's my baby. And so I don't feel right taking money from my relationships at all. Like, I've said, no, I don't want your money. Do not pay me, especially for like the partnership I have with the inbound call company. But guess what happens? Like, I email them, I ask for favors, I ask for credits, and I get immediate responses. Thank you so much. You spent over an hour with one of my agents yesterday.
Yeah.
Right? Mentally helping, coping. So for me, like, the people and what I get out of relationships with people far exceeds any sort of commission or override that I could ever earn. It's infinitely more valuable to me.
It's I'm on the other side of it because I do think that everybody should monetize, but I completely respect and understand your point of view, right? And I think for a lot of people out there, it's not just about money, right? And it's not just about money for those that do accept an affiliate, but I think that you see past maybe just a few bucks right now that you can make on this. And I think you do have that bigger picture of like, okay, well, how can I just build this relationship? And, some of the things that you're saying, right? Like, I'm giving up this here, but I now have this here, right? I have this access. I can call these people at any moment.
Right.
And I think that's so valuable, right? And so I still will say, hey, you should be taking an affiliate on things, but I respect that. I respect that so much. And I think it shows your commitment to making EmpowerLife grow and get to where you want it to get to, right? And so that's a huge thing and a value proposition that not many out there have. And so I commend you so much for it. And yeah, like, it was so interesting yesterday, just to mention that call that I had with the agent, right? It was 15 minutes about ads and leads, right? And then it was just about connecting and about building that relationship with this agent that him and I just had a connection in that moment. And we just, he mentioned the word, I met with my therapist. And then I was like, oh, I met with my therapist, and it was just like, let's talk about it, And so,
Right.
and my wife is a therapist. And so therapy has become like this big thing in my life that has like changed everything in my life,
Yeah.
and so I got a chance to connect to him. And so it's really important for me, and I do that with people, because for me, like, affiliates aside, and I think that everybody should monetize wherever they can, but what's helped me grow my business, like if I looked at one thing, right, one thing and one thing only that has got me to where I am today, and again, not perfect, not the greatest, but the successes that I've had, I think, have been a result of relationships,
Right.
and sometimes putting $1 to the side and spending that extra 30, 40 minutes, right? And I had to push other calls back yesterday because I didn't think I was going to spend an hour with this agent, but I got off the call feeling great, right? I know that I helped him. I know that he helped me, right, in the way that we connected. And so the result of that is much greater than a few $100 or an affiliate, right? And so I think it's something that I would say to people out there. It's easy to sometimes be short-sighted when it comes to like making money, and how can I make more money now? How can I figure this out now? I need money.
Right.
But I think when you're building something really special, you have to be willing to not get that instant gratification, right? And be able to put those things to the side and look at the long-term opportunity, I guess.
Well, I think if I could interject a little bit about that, I posted a YouTube video yesterday the title was something like six mistakes that's probably costing your business money, something to that effect. And one of the things I touched on was that production level leadership that a lot of people get stuck in. And I actually had some leaders reach out to me saying like they can't get themselves out of it because it's like, I got to pay this and I got to pay that. And so, and I knew I want to lead from the front. And maybe people look at me as maybe leading more from the back as opposed to leading from the front. But I truly believe, like, to my core, and I would love to know how you feel about it. I'm only 6 months in. February to, we really didn't start producing till March. So March,
Right.
April, May, June, July, and we're really like 6 months in. The only time I really sold was to test in the month of February. And, test the lead sources, test the CRM, test the dialer, like make sure I understood how to write the applications with the carriers. But after that, it is full steam ahead on building the foundation, mastering the systems, pouring into the agents. And not you don't always have to lead with production. If you've proven that you can do it and you've done it consistently and you can teach it, like, that's what your team needs from you. They need you to show up and be there for them, not show off and be at the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah. I 100% agree with that, right? I actually think, I'm way on that side with it because, and I've outside of doing this, and of course I had a long span in e-com, but before that, like, I ran a call center with 150 people in it, right, at one point. And so when I first started that business, I was the one on the phones because it started with me and another person, and then it grew to 5, and then it grew to 10, and it grew to, and it went from there. But as soon as I got to the point where me being on the phones took away from listening to a call or being able to really pour in properly into that other person that was on the phones and was now struggling or trying to be successful, for me, I immediately knew, like, okay, I can't do this anymore. Even though I'm making great money doing this, if I want to build something bigger, again, we go back to the same thing. You can't do it alone, right? You have to be able to cut that off. And that's really tough, right? For a lot of people, especially if you're like still, right, well, I got to pay my bills, and how am I going to pay this? And I don't have this long reserve of capital for me to do it. I think that you have to trust in yourself, and you have to get to that point where, and it's part of business, right? That's a risk that you have to take to build something bigger. And
Right.
you can have the fear, because fear will drive you to actually succeed and do it, but you have to take the action. You have to do it. Producing and building, for me, is I think it's counterproductive at some point. And so, yeah, I completely agree. I don't, and I think if you look at anybody who's built, particularly sales forces, sales teams, to a large amount, you're going to see that over and over again, right? That
Right.
person who is the leader has been off the phones producing and selling for a long, long time. Your job as a leader is to help others become leaders, right? And to help others get to where they want to get to. And it is a challenge. I will say this: for some people, it's tough. One, because they've never done it, and so it's a new thing. And I would just say I encourage people to lean into those things and like
Right.
push through, because just because you've never led people doesn't mean you can't, right? And so I think you need to do that. You have to get to this point where you say, okay, I either am going to make, $10,000-$20,000 a month writing, producing myself, or I'm going to take a hit here for the next 3 months, 4 months, whatever that
Right.
is.
Right.
But I'm going to pour everything that I have into these other people, because if I can do it, typically I can teach someone else to do it. Right? Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, yeah. And sometimes like people will look at the leader as something that they can't get to. And
Mm-hmm.
Roger had said this to me once, something like your agents, they won't chase perfection, but they'll chase what they think is possible. And so normally the leader is like always way ahead, right, of everybody else. It's like, well, look what I can do. But then when people get into it, it's like, I can never get to that. Like that's perfection. Like I can never be like you. And
Yeah.
so if you're always the one that's leading the charge at what your agents are perceiving as perfection, it actually does the opposite effect. It doesn't motivate them. It kind of bums them out. You know what I mean? And so like kind of humbling yourself and removing that, and maybe every now and then you pop in and just show them what's possible, do like a sales challenge or something small where you pop in every now and then, I think is a great thing to do, but as a teaching moment, not as a moment like when I go in there sometimes and I'm selling as a teaching moment, I'll give my sales away.
Right. Right. That's huge, which is like, I think that's what shows where it's like, okay, one, it is possible. Two, like, you're not here to show off. You are here to truly help the people that are there,
Yeah.
and that want to succeed. So that's incredible stuff. I'm glad we kind of touched a little bit on that, because it's so important. Like, if you're out there building, and everyone has their own way, right? But I think at its core, you have to be willing to put your time into other people, to build something special, And so big shout out to Roger. Every time I have a conversation with him, he'll say like something, and I'm like, man, that was great. Like these little one-liners and these things that obviously shows his experience and what he's been through in business and growth. And so that's awesome stuff. Okay, so let's go back a little bit into the day-to-day stuff of building and the challenges. And so, okay, so you have options, which again, I am a huge proponent of, right? Like, I don't think, and I say this all the time, right, in content, like, not everybody should be generating their own leads, right? Not everybody should be worried about running an ad account, running campaigns, because it is an additional piece that I think in the beginning, it just adds another level of pressure to certain people, right? And of course, we do, I think, a pretty good job in trying to handle all of that for an agent. But I think it's just like human nature. Like, well, where are my leads at today? How's it going today? Versus
Right.
like when they just go buy leads and they know that they've paid for it and that's just what it is. When you generate leads, people get that feeling of like, oh man, this is my campaign, and what are my leads at today? What is coming? What's not coming? What happened with this? And so it is an additional layer. And I will support, like, yeah, you should, if you're building an agency, you should have multiple options for your agents, because, again, like you said, you mentioned this, right? Like, I get super excited with it when you say, hey, this agent started, live transfers and they did great today. Awesome, right?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Because the more that person can succeed, the more the whole team succeeds, the more it takes pressure off of us, right? That's how I look at it. Like, if
Hmm.
somebody's supplementing with two things, gosh, and ad management is something that is not plug and play, right? Obviously, now
Right.
we're getting more to that place with your agency ad account, because now there's history, there's money running to it. And so it is becoming more of a machine, right, that everybody's tapping into. But there's real challenges, particularly in the beginning of campaigns
Yeah.
for agents. And so if an agent can supplement and get a few wins by taking some live calls while we're helping them set this thing up that eventually, again, gives them leads at cost and gives them really good opportunity, how could I be against that? You know what I mean? Like, it's only
Yeah.
helping a person.
We did make a kind of a mistake in the beginning of setting all of this up, and you may have even told me, but because I didn't understand it, I didn't hear it in the way that I needed to. And when we were first setting up this relationship, and I was just so inundated with 10 interviews a day, and helping with the CRM, and like I was drowning, to be honest, right? So I probably didn't hear the message as clear as it needed to be. But when we first started this relationship, we were having the agents set up their own ad
Mm,
management accounts. And let me restate that. They weren't setting it up. You were setting it up for them, but it was
right.
on their Facebook Meta account, right? Like,
Correct.
as if like an independent agent were to come to you and say, "Hey, I want to generate my own leads."
Yeah.
Um, and the reason that ended up being a mistake, and I guess like this is probably a caution, right, for people that want to start generating their own leads, is that if you do not have an established Meta account that has an audience that you've spent money on, that will drive traffic sooner, it takes a long time. And I remember feeling so much anxiety because we were having these agents set up the Meta accounts on their own Facebook pages, and we weren't selling anything. Like, leads weren't coming in. We
Yeah.
had nobody to talk to. And eh, and the answer to that was that I needed to have an EmpowerLife group master account that I needed to spend money on. And
Mm,
that account needed to find its audience. And that account needed to be able to help agents start sooner, right? Am I saying that correctly in that lingo?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
after a month or two, I finally got my aha moment. And so I did. I had to spend a bunch of money on the Meta account with leads I really couldn't even take,
Hmm.
right? I was trying to hand out the leads to the agents just so I can get it established. And then from there, we started then having agents come in as a sub account under Empower Life Group, which also has its pros and cons. But
Correct.
the major pros, and where I've seen a huge difference from an agency point, is now that they are leveraging our account, they get leads much quicker. They go through the learning phase much quicker. They're not limited to a minimum spend per day. Like, there's so many positives coming from having an agency account where they can get results so much faster.
Right away.
So right. So if you're an agency owner and you're watching this, like, definitely do that. But
Yeah.
here's the cons, right? Here's the cons for an agent, right? I want to be very transparent about this.
Yeah.
If you come into Empower Life Group and we set you up as a sub account under us because of all the benefits that I just listed, if for whatever reason you're like, not for me, and you want to move elsewhere, well, you don't have your own established Meta account now. That was under Empower Life Group, and that lead source is now cut off,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
So, like, but if you do it on your own, you're like a month, 2 months before you can start seeing like a lot of results, where under me, you can start seeing results in days.
It's yeah, and I think it's so good that before we started, I said, hey, I want to put out there everything, right? I've always, this is how I've been, and this is how, just when I talk to clients, whether it's an agency owner or whether it's like just an independent agent, and no matter what, and I get it, again, it's human nature, because we're very clear, like, hey, this is a process, right? This is 30, 60 days of grind, of challenge, of working,
Yep.
and we do it all. But the agent is the one dealing with those initial 30 days, 60 days of ramp up. And no matter what I say or how we lay it out, it always happens, right? Agents are like, well, what? I got this lead, or I got too many of these leads, or I got disconnected numbers. And it's like, yeah, that's part of the process of building this. And so I always say it like, building an ad account, building your own lead gen system is like building a small business within your business, right?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't happen overnight. There's real work that needs to be done. And if you're not doing the work or partnering with someone that knows how to do the work, it's likely going to fail, right? It's not
Right.
an easy thing to do. And that's where the agency setup, right? Again, people that are out there thinking about running an agency, starting an agency, or already there, having your own ad account, right? Because it's the power of all. Everybody is putting in money into one ad account, which is helping that ad account grow. And it's also helping the agents as they come in,
Yeah.
because they don't have to start their own ad account. You know, one of the biggest limitations when you first come in to set up an ad account is the spending limit, right? A
Right.
lot of times you can only spend $50 on an account per day. And so if I can only spend $50 a day on an ad account, gosh, I'm restricted, right? So then we go back, supplement, right? And this is what we do with independent agents that come to us as clients for done for you setups, for initial build outs. It's like, hey, this is going to take us 30, 60 days to ramp up.
Yeah.
What else are you doing for leads? What have you been doing for leads? Can you continue to utilize that as we build this machine within your business that ultimately will be the majority of where your marketing and business and leads come from? But it takes time. It's not something that's plug and play, obviously, as you've come to find out now. But what's interesting now is like, and of course I look at your account just about every day, and now it's like we put an agent into it, and within 24 hours, that agent is like, we just started an agent on Monday, and I think yesterday, Tuesday, she got 28 leads
I
day
know,
two.
I know exactly who you're talking about. And I was just looking at it today, and week to date. So today's Thursday morning,
Right.
week to date, 55 leads at $4.75 per lead.
And like, guys, that's not going to happen if you're just building your own ad account
No.
in the first
Yeah.
3 to 4 days. That's not what happens, right? This is the direct result
Mhm.
of months, guys, 8 months at this point, of us doing work, optimizing, changing, you doing like what you just said. And I remember that. Remember when we were running your ad and
Yeah.
you just had leads coming in and you were like, Oscar, I don't know what to do with all these freaking leads. I have interviews. I can't get to these things. And it was like, we got to do this, right? We have to do this
It was
part.
for the sake of the account,
You
right?
got it.
It
For the
was
sake
for,
of
it was for the
business.
sake of the business. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the mentality, right? Like there's this mentality crossover that has to happen from being a top producer to an agency owner. And like you got to find a way to get there. And when I lost everything in January, like I went from making a very great income to zero,
Right.
like literally zero overnight. So in order to fund this business, yes, I had savings, but look, like I'm a mom, I have 2 kids in private school, I have a mortgage, like food bill is crazy. I still
Yeah.
like to spend and go shopping sometimes. So I would had to reduce our
Yeah.
overhead, but there's also like the big fat bills don't go away. Plus now I have to start this business from scratch with no income. So
Yeah.
I've been very transparent that I immediately went out and took out a couple zero interest credit cards
Sure.
to fund
Yeah.
the start of this business so that I didn't have to tap into my savings, right? Because that's like liquid cash that once you spend it, you can't get it back. So it's actually a smart thing to do
Yeah.
for yourself. I don't
Absolutely.
have to pay that money back for a year until the business starts humming.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing to do, to create debt and credit for yourself, especially when you're starting a company. Like leverage the credit.
Leverage money, leverage capital, guys. I think
Yes.
that's something I see a lot in agents that come into the business. And of course, again, a lot of them have never ran a business. And so those fundamentals of business development are a lot of times not there.
Yeah.
But, one is like you need to have some sort of estimate on what it's going to cost to get into the business, and a time frame, an estimate of when maybe you'll start seeing money come in, not profitability, but just money coming in, covering a piece of business. And you need to leverage credit. You need to leverage money the best way that you can.
Right.
So as you were saying that, the thing that came into my mind immediately, when years ago, back in like 2010, actually, I'm sorry, it was 2007. It was a year before the market crash,
Yeah.
the real estate market crash. I was running a mortgage company. We were at all-time highs. I owned, I don't know, 15, 20 properties. Like, it was like, wow, this is incredible, right? And then from one day to the next, the market crashed, and within 6 months, I was out of business, right? I was out of business. I was figuring out what I was going to do with these properties that I couldn't sustain. I mean, it was a shitstorm, right? I was literally in a shitstorm. And I remember like talking to, at that time, somebody that was a mentor to me, and I ended up going into another business with him like 6 months later, right? We pivoted and we found what we needed to do, and we did. We came back. But one of the things that I'll never forget that he said to me, and that he was really big on, was the business has to take priority over everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing or nobody is more important than the business that you're trying to build, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that means yourself as an owner, right? Like, the business doesn't care if you can't go out to eat this weekend.
Right.
The business doesn't care that, you don't have enough money to pay your own bills. That's the reality, right? Like, it only cares about producing and what that is. Yeah, that's it, right? And so
Yes.
I think the sooner that you can understand that concept, right? If you're going to start this business, if you're going to build an agency, like, you are not more important than that business, right? And I remember
Alex Hormozy said a couple of times, like, he had just lived off of ramen noodles for an extensive amount of time because of that exact concept, because everything was about building the business. And that's an extreme example. And you know what? Maybe it's not an extreme example, because even as agents, when you are starting your own business, what are you willing to sacrifice in order to focus on your dreams, right? Like, we definitely in this industry don't talk about this type of stuff enough. The focus is way heavily shifted on dials and conversations and closes and, all of that. And then mass recruiting, right? I think that's like the two things that are talked about the most, and not enough people are talking about like the business ownership side of it. Even as an agent, you are a business owner.
Correct. Yeah. It's everything. It's everything, guys. And I think that when your mentality changes and you see that, right, you understand that concept. And I remember when he said it to me, and it was like, well, what are you talking about? Like, no, I still got to eat. I got to pay my bills. I got to do this. I got to do that. And yes, you do. But again, if you're going to commit to building something, particularly like something special, something big, something that like you see this and you have it, man, it's going to take everything and more than you've ever given into anything, right? And you're going to have imbalances in your life, financially, personally. Like, these are all realities that you have to come to grips with if you are going to build something that is going to last and be something special. So,
and then people will look at you and say, wow, how did he do it?
You got it.
They must be lucky, right?
Yeah.
Like, they have it all figured out. But really, like, because I remember being that person listening to ones that I thought had it all figured out and had the big businesses. And I watch Diary of a CEO all the time. Like, that's one of my favorite podcasts. And the theme that I just kept having to hear over and over and over again was this concept of sacrifice and concept, of investing and putting yourself last for a period of time so that you can be first. And that in the beginning, there is no such thing as work-life balance. Work-life balance is the goal. It's the outcome of what you have to be unbalanced for a period of time.
Yeah.
You have to earn the right to get the work-life balance. If you want work-life balance from day one, go get a job.
That's it. Let's end it. Let's end the podcast. Let's close it with that. You know what I mean? Like literally, yeah. That's it's yeah. I don't think I've ever, to just piggyback on it. Like I've never built, and I've built quite a few businesses, and I've tried many things. Many of them have failed, right? And I always say this, I've only had, if I look back since I've started any type of business, I've had dozens of things that have failed and only a couple of things that have really worked out. And in every single one of those, the first 6 months, the first year was an absolute imbalance of life, right? It was, and I think I got to the point after doing it a few times that now, one is I understand that that's how it works, and I actually enjoy that grind, right?
You
I
know
don't
why
know,
you
like
enjoy it though? Because
why.
you know there's an end, right? Because
Interesting.
you
Yeah,
have experience coming out
yeah,
of it and seeing. So like for me, I feel the exact same way. Like I have experienced that with building the call center at Tailored Legacy.
right.
In the year that we did 5 million, I was working like 4 hours a day.
Incredible.
Right.
That's
And then I
incredible.
lost it. And I was like, well, it's back to 15 hours a day again.
Let's do it again. Yeah,
But I know it's possible.
right,
Like I know and we're going to do it faster this time. It might take me longer to get there because my goals are bigger now,
right.
but I know it's possible. Like talk about work-life balance. Like that's better than work-life balance. Like that's amazing.
Man, and you know what? Like, and it's not that like there aren't extremely difficult times and
Yeah.
days where you're just like, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. I don't know how am I going to do this tomorrow? How I'm super overwhelmed. So like those things are coming, right? You
Yeah,
have
they
to know
are.
that is right. It's not like, oh, I'm just happy that I'm in this grind and
Yeah,
working 20 hours a day. That's not it, guys, right? It's you understand that there's a bigger thing coming. And I think you're absolutely right. Like once you do it once or twice, you're like, okay, this is part of this. Let me continue. Let me go. And I stick with it. That was something that I had said to the agent yesterday when I talked to him. I was like, man, you're there, right? Like this is the grind. Do not give up on this thing because it, like most people, quit right before. You always see that picture of the guy that's digging
right.
for gold and like quits, an inch before he strikes gold. And it's so real, right? That is such a real picture of
It's literally
life.
what happened to him yesterday.
Oh, yes, right. He wrote a pilot, right? He wrote $6,000, I think he wrote yesterday.
It was 5 grand AP on one person who it was just like anyway, it was such a great story. But the to add on to that, because he's had that struggle, and I've had many struggles in the last 6-7 months, and I had a moment in the past couple months that just knocked me to my core. Like I don't think I've cried that much in a really long time. But what I said to him and what I'll say to you is that, okay, so I've built up some armor now, but the thing is, like, it's going to happen again.
Oh yeah.
And you have to know that, and you're not going to see it coming either, which
You
is
never
the
do.
thing.
Yeah.
And you just have to say, okay, I know it's coming. I know something's going to happen that's going to knock me down. And then I'm going to get kicked in the gut. And then I'm going to think this is it. I can't do it. And then you get out of it.
Yeah.
And you build more armor.
Yeah.
Right. But I think having that fear of I don't want anything bad to happen to me is another thing that prevents people from growing and putting themselves out there, is that fear of pain, because that pain is real and it hurts.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It hurts in many different ways, and Yeah. I always say, because you always hear people like, oh, fear is not good. You shouldn't fear things. Like, man, I actually feel the complete opposite, right? I think like having fear is for me like sometimes what pushes me, right, and what grounds me to the things that I'm doing in not just my business but in personal life, right? And so I think fear used properly can be a huge motivator to get you to where you want to get to. And yeah, you're going to get punched in the gut even if it's always when things are going great, right? I
Yes,
always you
why?
just I'm telling you, when things are going really great, I'm always like, okay, where is
Here we
it?
go.
Someone's gonna punch me in the gut and I'm gonna fall down. But you know what? Again, once you do it a few times, you know that the wind will come back. You will be able to breathe again. You're gonna stand up, and before you know it, you're walking and running again, just like you were right
And you know what
before
makes
someone.
it easier? Here's the secret that
Mm.
makes it easier to get through those moments. The relationships that you've spent so much time cultivating. It
Uh,
all
uh,
goes back to that, because did I not reach out to you? Did I,
yep.
like I was reaching out to my leaders and some of the people that I've leveraged to help me build this. I mean, those are the same people that helped me get through.
Yeah.
Right? To
Yeah.
encourage you to keep going, because when you're in that moment where you think it's impossible and you're never going to be able to get out of it, other people see the things you can't see.
Mm.
Other people see the bigger perspective, because that emotion is so strong. Like you can't see clearly until you then come out of it. But that's
Yeah.
why we always say failure happens in isolation, winning happens in community,
Yeah.
because you don't just rely on your relationships to help you grow, but I rely heavily on my relationships when things get hard.
Man, this is so awesome. I feel like this is the kind of stuff that people need to hear, right? I know leads are great, guys. Leads at cost are fantastic. You scale my social, but man, this is the meat and potatoes, guys. I'm telling you, because this is what gets you through the hard times, because they're there. They're always going to be. People are not going to pick up the phone. You're going to lose a deal. The lady's going to cancel. Like, these are all things that happen. But if you have these fundamental things in your business and in your life, you're going to get through it and you're going to get to where you want to get to. So, Dana, I appreciate you so much.
I could talk for hours. There's so many more things we could talk about. So have me back on.
Man, absolutely. Let's give them a shameless plug and to end it, right? What has been, like, if agency owners are out there and they're looking to build this lead generation, final thoughts on using ScaleMySocial and using us as a partner?
Absolutely. So if you're an agency owner wanting to build a telesales team specifically, I am telling you right now that your agents need volume. You cannot, anytime I see a Facebook post that says, I tried XYZ lead, it didn't work, they sucked. The first question I always ask is, how many did you buy?
Mm.
And so as someone who wants to build a team and wants to put their agents in the best opportunity for success, partnering with someone like Oscar and his team over at ScaleMySocial will give you that armor that you can give to your team so that they can have a volume of like living in lead abundance so they can afford it, right? They have to be able to afford it, and you also have to do it, right? So you can bet on yourself, so you can bet on your agents. And Oscar, you're not going anywhere. You're stuck with EmpowerLife Group for life. So
I appreciate you
I
so
couldn't
much.
say better things about our relationship and what you're doing for our team.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Guys, if you're out there and you're actually looking for a team to join, right, and you're either an agent or you're even thinking about building an agency and you'd like to have this kind of structure, this kind of leadership that is going to help you get there, somewhere below here in the comments, you're going to see links to get with Dana directly and her team if that's something that you'd like to do. And of course, if you'd like to speak to us about lead generation, agency lead generation, book a call with us. I appreciate you so much, Dana. Thank you so much for being here with us, and we'll definitely do it again.
Thanks.